the injury of others, and the seizure of their weapons, including machine guns and sniper rifles. Army units also announced full control of the Wal al-Basil in Daraya, an area which the terrorists have used to start their terrorist crimes against the army and the citizens. In a successful operation, units of our armed forces set up ambushes to secure the movement of the back fronts forward. Dozens of the terrorists were killed, while others were arrested and their weapons seized. Syrian Arab Army units also raided terrorist hideouts in Daraya farms, killing large numbers of them. Policemen at the Zabadani area in Damascus countryside confronted terrorist groups who tried to attack the directorate of the area. A source in the Interior Ministry said that the policemen repelled the terrorists and no casualties were reported. Among the policemen in Homs, a unit of our armed forces confronted armed terrorist groups that tried to attack two police checkpoints in the neighborhoods of Souq al-Ghanam and al-Mukhtariya last night, inflicting heavy casualties among the terrorists. The terrorists were from al-Nusra Front, which is affiliated to al-Qaeda, but our armed forces were there to face them, killing and injuring many and forcing the rest to run away. Another Syrian army unit destroyed a terrorist hideout in Hosh Kafran in Al-Rastan countryside, killing many of the terrorists and injuring many others. Among those killed there was the terrorist Muhammad Sulaiman Mansour. In Al-Rastan, a disagreement between two terrorist groups on distributing what they have looted led to fighting among the terrorists, killing and injuring many of them. Meanwhile, a bus carrying passengers on the international road of Damascus-Aleppo came under fire by snipers from terrorists near Talbise, injuring two passengers at dawn today. In Hama countryside, a unit of the Syrian Arab Army eliminated a terrorist group that tried to attack the town of Aqraba. Among the terrorists killed, there was 3 leaders of what's called Al-Faruq Brigades, which is affiliated to Al-Qaeda. Meanwhile, army units dismantled 4 rocket launchers that were used by the terrorists on the road of Homs Hama to target residential areas around. After several days of complete silence, Aqab Saqr, the Lebanese MP from Al-Mustaqbal Current, admitted his involvement in the conspiracy against Syria, admitting the authenticity of the records published by the Lebanese paper Al-Akhbar and telecast by the OTV channel. The records gave details of his contact and conversations with the terrorist groups who he sent money and weapons to. Aqab Saqr has been absent from Lebanon for a long time now. He claimed that his acts were in Lebanon's interest. Al-Akhbar newspaper quoted sources close to Saqr that he would resort to devious tactics to protect himself. He said he was personally responsible for his act. He thus contradicted a previous statement in which he admitted that all his steps were supervised and well known in advance by his chief Saad al-Hariri. In Turkey, the Syrian file will be on the list of discussions between the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Turkish officials during his upcoming visit to Turkey. Russia stressed the necessity of solving the crisis politically according to the Geneva Communique and to what the Syrians themselves approve. As for Turkey's attempts to deploy Patriot missiles along the Syrian-Turkish borders, Moscow asserted its rejection of such a step because it would only increase the complexity of the situation in Syria. In Egypt, the implications and consequences of the constitutional declaration issued by President Mohamed Morsi continue to escalate. In the Front of National Salvation announced that popular demonstrations would continue and that the demonstrators would stand before the presidential palace. The protest may turn into a general civil disobedience. Egyptian judges announced their unanimous rejection of the referendum of December 15th. Mr. Amr Moussa, member of the Higher Committee of the Front, announced that the national forces would never give up their demand of a national constitution. He pointed out that the front would issue a statement later concerning its attitude to this referendum on the constitution. A young Palestinian was murdered by the Israeli forces of occupation to the west of Nablus in the West Bank. The Israeli army announced that the wounding of 2 soldiers when their military vehicle capsized as it was chasing the car driven by the Palestinian man. Israeli soldiers shot him in cold blood and prevented Palestinian ambulance vehicles from picking him up. In Gaza, a delegation of European parliamentarians called for bringing Israel to account for its atrocities against Palestinian citizens. The delegation asserted that international dealings with files in the region was governed by double standards. In light of deteriorating security conditions in Libya, the people of Al-Bayda town took to the streets in an angry demonstration against these conditions. They asserted that the right of expression and demonstration does not mean chaos. They called for helping the army and security forces to carry out their duties and to preserve public and private properties. The people of Tuagraz called upon the provincial government and the General National Conference to return them to their town, from which they were driven out by forces at the hands of armed militias. These militias committed violent atrocities in the town of Bani Walid before. Iran's representative at the International Agency of Atomic Energy, Mr. Ali Asghar Sultaniya, warned that retaliation against any attack on Iran's nuclear installations would be destructive. He said that Iran might decide to withdraw from the Treaty of Non-Proliferation of Atomic Arms if its nuclear installations were attacked. He asserted that nobody could commit such a stupid step. With this, we come to the end of our news for today. Stay with us after the break. Denise has the latest in economy. For more details, you can visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy.